Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to the health presentation at the Orange SDA Church. Those who are here on live and also those who watch us online too, welcome. This afternoon, it's an honor and privilege for me to introduce to you our speaker this afternoon, Dr. Vincent Chee. Dr. Chee serves currently as Associate Professor at Loma Linda University, School of Dentistry, and has several faculty appointments at Loma Linda University Health and SAC Health. He has been a practicing dentist for 33 years and is an educator and full-time teacher since 2012 and was nominated finalist for the Kinzer Rice Award for Teaching Excellence in 2020. 2 years ago, in 2024, he received a Spiritual Life and Wholeness Award from Loma Linda University. Aside from being a dental clinician and educator, Dr. Chee is also a founding president of Vision for Compassion Ministries, a charitable smile creation non-profit ministry dedicated to changing lives in Southern California and around the world. Dr. Chee was one of the feature book authors for Evening Rounds, highlighting one of his patients' lives dramatically changed through routine cosmetic dentistry. From 2015 to 2018, he helped form the National Association of Seventh-day Adventist Dentists, NASDASDAAD, editorial team, and was the book's idea originator, Changing Lives, published by Big Umbrella Resources in 2018. Today, he will present a health talk featuring Unlocking Oral Health Secrets for a Thriving, Vibrant Lifestyle. Dr. Chee, what's a remarkable and impressive curriculum background. Thank you so much for your time. The time is yours.
Well, thank you so much, David, for that introduction and for the invitation to come to your beautiful church this afternoon to do a health talk on dentistry. Now, aside from what David has read, I would like to let you know that I'm a father of 2 beautiful children, and also the husband of my wife, who has just recently, I think 2 weeks ago, she actually passed away from hemorrhagic stroke, which was really a very sudden experience for all of us. And so she was supposed to accompany me to this health talk, which she has done in the past, before. So this is the first time that she's not, with me and with us here today. And so this morning, I felt that it's important for me to actually introduce her to you posthumously, because usually I like to be able to introduce my other half, which is usually my better half. And even though she doesn't like, to stand up in front to talk to all of you, she has been such a great supporter of the ministry, that we are involved in together. And so this morning, I actually woke up really early, 4:30 in the morning. And I was impressed to put together something that is actually 4 slides long, 4 to 5 slides long, but it really represents a number of hours, that I put together in these 4 to 5 slides. Plus the fact, that I hope it will represent her life, her accomplishments, and what her passions are. And so without wasting a whole lot of time, I want to invite you to pray together with me as we begin today's seminar. Our Father in heaven, thank you so much for the opportunity that you have given to all of us here today to be able to learn more about dental health and some of the secrets that will be unlocked for us to be able to experience wholeness and whole person care that you would like to see us experience. And so, Father, today, I want to pray not only for this church, but for all those who are listening online as well, that your Spirit will touch the hearts and the ears of every one of us here today, so that we will all be enriched, we'll all be encouraged and empowered to be able to live the life that you have chosen for all of us. Thank you so much for hearing our prayer, for we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so after I finished, this couple of slides, tears were welling in my eyes, and I hope, that it will not happen, today. I will be able to control myself and be able to keep going, with the most important part and the reason, why you're here today. So I want you to bear with me at this point as I share with you an introduction and a tribute, to my wife's experience here on this earth. She actually that is a picture of her. I do not know where you can see her. And this was taken in the back of our garden that she's really very proud of, because she has spent nearly 10 years to put together, this garden. But unfortunately, due to a number of different reasons, her ability to be able to complete the garden was postponed year after year. Because in 2015, my daughter was diagnosed with a heart condition that required her to have an open heart surgery. And so that took up, a lot of time for her to care for her till she recovered. And then you might think, that that is probably, all that is going to be. But no, what happened was after that, her parents, came to stay with us, and she took care of them until their passing. And they actually passed at a ripe old age of 90 and 91. And so that was a couple of years, that in the making. And then after that, because of all the stressful condition that she went through in taking care of the parents, not sleeping adequately, she herself, developed cancer. And so she went through surgery in 2020 and eventually got freed from cancer, I believe in 2025 last year. And so this is the garden, that she has been envisioning. And I'm happy to tell you that she's an avid gardener. Her love for her garden is amazing. And so one time, while she was in the hospital 2 weeks ago, one of my colleagues, came and told me, he says, I also work in the garden too, to a point, whereby I actually don't even have time, to eat my lunch. And my neighbor have to actually get across, from the fence to pass me some food to do that. And so I said, that is so wonderful. And that's exactly what my wife does. But she does that even much more. And she would spend many hours in the dark till sometimes 2 a.m. in the morning, working, in her garden, because she wanted to make sure that the pests, are not going to destroy, her beautiful plants and vegetation. So I do want you to know that not only is the garden her passion is also in her family and her community as well. But most important of all, her commitment, to God is unbelievable. Because you can see, that this rock, that she has was as a result of digging a hole that was 3 feet wide and 3 feet deep. And she did it all by hand. And there were rocks and rocks of different kinds. And this was the largest rock that she wasn't able to take out. and it was sitting, right at the bottom of this hole that she was going to plant a mango tree. And so my beautiful wife said to me one day, and she said, would you be willing to help me to take this rock out? And I look at her, and I look at the rock, and I said, perhaps, it might be a good idea for us, to get several strong, Hispanic individuals to come and help us, to do this, because, we have in the past gotten some really strong, people, to do that. She says, no, I believe that we can actually take this out together with God's help. And her faith in God is so amazing, to a point, whereby she would really spend time, talking to her God, and spending time, just learning, ways of how to deliver the care to her God, and inspiration, from her God. And so, to cut the story short, just the two of us, little by little, we're able, to take this rock, hoist this rock up, to a point whereby it was stuck, right, at one corner. We just, couldn't move it. And so, guess what we did? We knew what we knew was best, and that is to pray. And God, just gave me, I could feel that He gave me an invisible strength. And my wife was preparing, that place for the rock to just fall right into the center, exactly where we wanted it to be, so that we can actually move that rock out. And so she was so happy, because this is not the only rock that we have taken out. And over the years, there were many, many rocks that we have taken out as a result of, I believe, not through our own strength. It was through total dependence upon God. And that is how committed my wife is. And so I do want you to know that aside from that, even though she loved her garden tremendously, we do have a Bible study group that we have on a weekly basis on Friday night. And my wife, would spend 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. On Wednesday, she would go marketing. On Thursday, she would prepare the food. And on Friday, she would cook them and will bring them, to the, to the church, where we have, all this food. They were all handmade, by her. And on a weekly basis, that is what she does. And you would have thought, that, whoa, that is a lot. Yes, she actually, did all this, and she handcrafted, even the chocolate. They are favorites of my students, and, favorite of all those Bible students that come, together. And she would actually make them even, to give them, to the neighbors, and that is the kind of person, that my wife really is. And so on that day, we were celebrating my birthday, but I actually did a surprise for her, because she never wanted to celebrate Mother's Day, because she's so low-key and so humble and so unassuming that she's always, thinking about somebody else except herself. And so what I did was I surprised her on that day, and I turned into a Mother's Day celebration for her, invited a number of mothers, which I don't have a picture of. But just to cut that story short, we had a great time, doing that. Now, if you would think, that, well, that's quite a lot of accomplishment already, wait till you see this over here. My wife, is also, her passion is to reach out to the marginalized community, whereby people, who are not loved, who are very hard to love, who are into addiction. And, she would actually reach out, to people like, this person is Raphael. And 1.5 years ago, Raphael came to church, one day. And my wife, being a very reserved person, would never be the first one, to reach out, to shake his hand. But she went and sat next to him and introduced herself and became friends, with Raphael. And ever since then, have been preparing food, for him. And then during Thanksgiving, she wanted, to go to see him and wanted to cook for the entire community. There were about 8 to 10 families over there. But then she was so disappointed because everybody was gone. The police came and took away all the tents and took away all the sleeping mats, that we have donated to them. But Raphael was nowhere to be seen. And this year, January, his birthday, very close to my wife's birthday, once again he showed up in church. And my wife was so excited to see him there. And so she was so committed, to finding where he lived. And now he's living under this bridge over here. Under this bridge, next to where David is sitting. Not David here, but this David over here. and so she, even though she was in the hospital, she already prepared, the food that was needed, that Sabbath, not only for the church, but also, for these two individuals that she had met. And so because she wasn't able to do that, I actually fulfilled her legacy by preparing this. And these are some of the cookies that she bought the week prior to that to give it to these individuals. And so I put together this for them and gave it to them that week. And so I wanted to say, that this is the kind of individual, that my wife, really is compassionate, caring, and really reaching out, for, the community. And so because of her love, for the garden, and because of her love, for nature, this is going to be her final resting place on that big tree. Underneath that big tree there's a very nice shade, and it's going to be facing the east. And this is going to be her urn. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is going to be an urn. And the one thing, that I wanted to mention is that I couldn't, find a picture, close enough. And so this is a picture that I borrowed from somewhere in our album that was taken most recently to capture, the essence of how happy, she was on the last night, that she was cooking dinner for me. And what happened was she was actually supposed, to go on that day for jury duty. And my wife, being a very civic-minded individual, would definitely not miss, this opportunity to go to the court, to become a juror. But there are 3 fears that she has. Number 1, she's directionally challenged. And number 2, some of you probably know that it is really tough, for you to navigate through that directional challenge. And she she didn't like the idea that she was going to be spending sometimes days, because she once was a juror before. She spent 3 days just waiting and doing nothing. And she hates wasting time, because every moment she wants to use it to take care of the garden, take care of her home, take care of her community. And so sitting in the court is not her favorite place. And so that night she said, "Can you please call the court for me?" And when she realized, that her group, was dismissed, that day, she says, she actually literally jumped up from the ground with this kind of expression, and she says, that I now have 1 more day to spend in my garden. And so that's the kind of person, that my wife really is. She's committed not only to her God, but also, to her community as well. And so today, I just want to say, that it has been sort of like a mixed, feeling, because I know that your church, have sort of like celebrated a lot of welcomes and farewell for your pastor. But I look at this in this way, that as I am actually saying farewell, to my wife, it is really not a farewell. Because just like your pastor said, it will be just, very close by. And so what happens is that she has not actually gone anywhere. She she has just changed her address from this earth to a heavenly one, which is much more better than, I believe, all of us. And so she's in a much better place. And so I want to thank God, for that, for giving her this ability. And I do believe, that even though none of us are ready for her to leave this world, and it is hard to grapple, with that, I do believe that she's ready to meet her God and her Maker. Because there were three things, that she has prayed for, that she's always so afraid of. Number one, she's so afraid, that I will go first, before she does, because she doesn't know where everything is. The second thing she's really afraid of is she's really so afraid, that there are, things, that she doesn't know what to do. And the last thing that she was afraid of is that we've been studying about Bible prophecy, just like what your pastor have been sharing. Last days events that are happening, they are unfolding, before our eyes. And so, when we are called, because the key to these last days is basically, where is your allegiance, going to be? Just like what your pastor had mentioned. Because ultimately, we're going to be called upon to make that determination. Are we going to be faithful, to God? Or are we going to be faithful to our family, to our garden, to whatever possessions that we have on this earth? And so that will come a time whereby this is going to happen. So anyway, I know that I can talk a lot more, but I know that you didn't come here, to listen to this. And so I have to be quick to move on, to what our... We
really appreciate you sharing that with us. It's a very, very thoughtful and moving story that we need to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, David. I appreciate your authenticity and your authentication, and appreciate the friendship, that we have even this short time. And thank you so much. And so, all right, now comes, the real stuff of why we're here, today. And that is to talk about unlocking oral healthcare secrets to a vibrant, healthy lifestyle. So, I'm going to have you take out your phone. I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to, take out your phone. And I want you to scan, this QR code over here. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give you an opportunity. And some of you will have a chance, or one of you will have a chance, to actually take home a copy of this. And this is called Changing Lives. Okay, so I'm going to give you a short little time, to do that. And okay, so do you need a little bit more time, to do this? We good? Okay, we're good? Okay, all right, let's move on. Okay, so to unlock the secrets, the innovative secrets to a vibrant, healthy living, we need to first of all understand God's original design and plan for all of us. And so the question that I have for you today is, what is God's ideal for oral health? Your oral health in particular. And so, in Songs of Solomon, we see, that there's one Bible verse over here that says, your teeth are like a flock of sheep just shorn, coming up from the washing. Now, Songs of Solomon is not, one place, whereby most people, go to. And so it does require a little bit of unpacking, for you, just in case you may not be familiar, with this Songs of Solomon. Now, Bible scholars have actually attributed this, to a song that was actually written by Solomon. Solomon was one of the king of Israel. He was one of the greatest king of Israel, actually. he was the wisest man that ever lived. And so when Solomon, actually penned this writing, I'm pretty sure, that he had in mind his next bride, to be, which was probably the Queen of Sheba or something like that, And he penned this, actually from that standpoint of a love, relationship standpoint. But it was inspired by God. And what that means is if you actually are a shepherd, or if you actually have some ideas about sheep, you will realize, that these sheep have been shaven, clean, and they look so beautiful after, their fur is all gone, right? And that is exactly, what God's ideal for all of us are. That is, he wants us to have teeth, that are beautiful, that are perfect. Now, the reality of it is, do we have perfect teeth? Probably not. And most of us would agree that our teeth are either crowded, is either stained, is sometimes, decayed, and some of the times, we have to lose them because of so many different reasons. But that is not God's original plan. Sin has brought about destruction to our oral health. Sin has actually come in to bring about that separation, that all the diseases that we know, including our teeth as well. And so in order for us, to unlock the secret, we have to first of all understand God's original plan for all of us. In spite of all the things that are happening, is it possible for us to have a vibrant lifestyle? And can a vibrant lifestyle be affected, by poor oral health? Well, obviously, some of you probably have already experienced that, and you already know that this is the mouth, and that our diet, our daily habits, our choices, they are the ones that actually make up our lifestyle, if you were to think about it. And so it begins, right here. So how does oral health impact your lifestyle? Well, first of all, you can see that for those of you who have lost teeth, and I hope that none of you have lost teeth, but if you have actually lost some teeth, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, okay? But you know who you are. You recognize, that eating becomes painful. And sometimes, we avoid, certain food because, we don't have the teeth, to chew them. Plus, there's so many different things, that can happen as a result of losing those teeth. We have bad breath, stained teeth, and it's affecting, our social well-being as well. So to talk about teeth is important. So we can see, how many of these things actually tend, to affect our overall lifestyle and health. And so today, I would like to mention, too, that our enamel, which is the first layer that protects our teeth, that is tooth colored, white in color, just like the color of the sheep that's shown. Okay? There is, once, that protective layer is gone, as a result of so many different things, because of our diet, our choices, our habits, once they're gone, then it becomes very susceptible to diseases, cavities, sensitivity, and all those things that comes along with losing enamel. But I'm also happy to mention, to you that today, dentistry has really gotten so advanced. During my time, I never thought, I graduated 30-some years ago. I never thought, that you could actually develop a gel that can actually regrow enamel. Wow, that is amazing. Now, scientists, in Sweden and things like that have been studying, this, and they're slowly, coming up with that. Is it approved yet, by the FDA? Not quite yet, but it is coming in the market, and slowly but steadily. And we know that this is happening. And at the same time, what happens is that we also do know that gum disease is also something, that causes a lot of people to lose their teeth as well early on in their life. And but then imagine that this gel can also regenerate your gums, and those areas, that have been destroyed by bacteria and by disease. And so we are actually living in a very exciting time of our lives. And so you can see, that the advances, in dentistry is so amazing that it is challenging us, to a very high level at this point. And so who would have ever thought, that even your saliva can be used as a life-saving tool to help detect cancer, to help detect diseases early on in your life, so that way you'll be safe from all the heartache, the heartbreak as a result of having these diseases. And so the advances, in innovative dentistry is no longer somewhere in the distant future. It is actually here and now. And so today, I want to bring you hope that if you find, that you have been challenged by loss of teeth, you have been challenged by the fact that you have painful gums, and if you even have teeth, that are decayed, and whatever the situation might be, I want you to know that there is hope. Not only is there hope, you will be restored, to wholeness once you understand the blueprint, that we are going to share with you today. Now, even with the advances, that we have gone through, so I'm going to really go very quickly, so that way, we can go through this as fast as we can, to discover, that in spite of the fact that we have so much advances in dentistry today, the sad reality is that there's still a lot of people that are experiencing not only homelessness, but loss of teeth as well. And so today, I want to share with you one clip from YouTube that has really resonated so well, with this talk over here, that I'm going to share with you. And just wanted you to see this really closely. Oh, let's see. Are we able to pull that up? Just click it. From over here. That's okay, because what I was trying to show you in this video clip that you will be seeing over here, you can actually, in your free time, I think that is a blessing in disguise. That's okay, Abraham. That's okay, because you know why? In the interest of time, I think that it will be best, for us, to not play this and let them actually view this at home, so that way, they can still get the information without us running over time. Would that be okay? Thank you so much. The point that I'm trying to bring across in this video is that there's a lot of people that have lost teeth, but they have not lost hope. Because, there's this organization over here that have restored, the teeth of many of these individuals. And so in your free time at home, if you can, please, go ahead and watch it, because it is a powerful video. Now, just as your pastor, have mentioned, during the sermon, there is a lot of political lies that you hear in our world today. And in the religious world, you also hear a lot of lies about the thing. And similarly, in the dental world, there's a lot of lies that you've been told. And so today, we want, to be able to debunk, this myth and these lies that have been told, to you, so that way, in order for you to experience wholeness, in order for you to experience whole person care, you need to stay away from some of these myths. And one of them is the ancient Indian remedy of oil pulling. Now, I know that to some of you, you may be thinking, what in the world is that? Now, if you don't know what it is, that's okay, because I didn't know what it was either. But it simply means, that there are some people who actually believe that by rinsing, with some oil, maybe olive oil in your mouth, for maybe 20 to 30 seconds, they can actually reverse gum disease, they can reverse cavities, they can reverse all kinds of problems, in their mouth. Now, I'm here to mention, to you that there's nothing wrong with rinsing your mouth, with oil. I'm sure that it does have some benefit. However, the myth and the lies that are being told to you is that it will cure all your ailments, including toothache and all those things. That's not the truth. And so you have to make sure that you understand that. And charcoal toothpaste as whitening. How many of you have heard about this? All right. Now, that is another myth that I hope, that you do not use charcoal, because charcoal is very abrasive. Now, and remember, that I mentioned, to you before, that your enamel is the most protective layer of your tooth. Once that's gone, it's gone. And charcoal, being abrasive, is going to remove, that layer of your teeth. And so that is a dangerous, I want to say, it is something, that some people have actually chosen to use that. But our recommendation from the American Dental Association standpoint, from a dentist standpoint, would be to stay away from this charcoal toothpaste for right now until they have developed, some better ones that does not remove your enamel. Because as you know, the enamel is really the strongest natural substance in the world. You cannot find anything stronger, than that. Natural. Of course, diamond is the strongest artificial substance, but your enamel is the strongest substance. And then facial fitness and things like that, dental services by veneer technicians. Now, those are things, that we have to kind of like understand that this is a trend that is happening. And I did have somewhere, from the American Dental Association Journal that highlights, some of these things that I thought it's important, for me to share that with you. Because if we are planning, to understand more about wholeness and whole person care, this has to be part of what we need to talk about. All right. I know that none of you are falling asleep yet, but that's okay. That's good. We're going to go, because I'm an educator, I like to give quizzes. But this is an open book quiz, so no worry, you'll be fine. So, whitening toothpaste guarantees white teeth. True or false? All right, you guys are acing this quiz here. Flossing is no longer necessary. True or false? All right, wow, you guys are acing this exam here. Sugar-free drinks are safe for teeth. Whoa, I am impressed. So you guys probably don't need this lecture here. You guys already know brushing harder cleans better. Very good. Baby teeth do need dental care. True or false? True. All right, very good. you need to only see a dentist, when your tooth hurts. All right. Wow. There is a direct connection between the mouth and the rest of our body. True or false? All right. Wow. I am so impressed. Your audience over here has scored 100% on the quiz, and that's unheard of because a lot of times in every class there's always a bell curve whereby some of them have A's and some of them B's, some C's, and some of them even probably one or two might have been the D or the F category. But you guys all scored 100%. Congratulations. Good job. And you are absolutely right. There is a direct connection, between your mouth and your body. And do you think that this is strange, that the Bible talks about that too? Because in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 20, we are told that from the fruit of his mouth, a man's stomach is filled. And with the harvest of his lips, he is satisfied. So even the Bible recognizes that there is a direct connection between the mouth and what you eat with your body. Because God is the creator of our body. He knows our body so well that he really told us that way back, to several, probably during, this was penned by Solomon, but nevertheless, we do know that this is words of wisdom coming from the wisest man that have ever lived. And pull out your cell phone because I want you, to scan this QR code over here. And I want you, to read, this article over here because, this is going to strengthen, your belief that there is a strong connection between what we read in the Bible and what we read in today's scientific journals. Now, a lot of times, the first manifestation of disease, you'll be surprised, is usually reflected in the mouth. You're saying, how so? Well, if you take a look at this mouth over here, it looks pretty normal. Now, that's because, you are not a dentist or not a specialist. And take a look at this, and we know that something is not right with this here. And take a look at this over here. Something is not right over here. But I'm not going to give a quiz over here because I know that it's not fair to you if I were to ask you, okay, tell me, what is the patient experiencing over here in the center? None of you can tell me because even a dentist sometimes will miss that too. Even I may miss that too. But this patient is actually having Sjogren's syndrome. Now, Sjogren's syndrome is a very painful process whereby you have dry eyes, you have dry bones, you also have dry mouth. And so you're very susceptible to cavities as a result of that because you're not producing enough saliva. And how do we know? Well, we do tests, but this is one of the first indication is in the mouth. And this one here, on the on your left over here, that one right there is actually oral cancer. Oral cancer. And so you may look at this and you may say, well, it's kind of like a tongue ulceration. And yes, it is a tongue ulceration. But when you look a lot deeper into it, and I don't expect you, to know that this is oral cancer because you have to really do a biopsy in order for you to be able to come to a confirmation that this is oral cancer. And the last thing is that you see an ulceration over here that seems very innocuous, that, we all have it. I even have it sometimes, once in a while. But this one here for this patient is one of the most dreaded disease of all, and that is HIV. or AIDS. And it is a non-healing lesion. Okay? So just in case, some of you are kind of getting scared over here, I'm going to reassure you that just because you have an ulcer, there, and if your lifestyle, is not mixed, and things like that, you don't have to worry about AIDS or HIV infection because they're usually transmitted sexually and with different partners a lot of time. And so I don't want you to worry, that if you have an ulcer like this, that's going to mean that you have HIV, okay? So some of the first signs of systemic problems is also found, in your mouth, okay? So I'm going to go through this, and you can bring out your phone again, scan the QR code, because I'm going to actually let you have this article so that way you can cross-reference, to this. It's sort of like a cheat sheet, for you to be able to help you to be able to get some more information about, this some of these diseases, that are manifested in the mouth. And so when you do see signs of this, then you can actually use this, to see if any one of these matches. But more importantly, I don't want you, to become a doctor or a dentist. I want you to seek medical help and dental help when you do run into problems or when you do see any of this. Now, this is something that's more common that I feel that is important for me to actually share with you. And that is some of the earlier signs of diabetes is actually shown in the mouth. Would you believe it? The mouth, shows the first indication of diabetes. Dry mouth, gum disease, frequent mouth infection, slow healing mouth ulcers, burning mouth syndrome, tooth decay. So it begs us, to come to this here. How do we achieve a vibrant, healthy lifestyle? The first oral health care secrets is not really a secret. You're like, wait a minute. Diet, daily habits, and choices? You gotta be kidding me. That simple? It is that simple. But do you know how many people, by choice, I don't want to see the hands of those of you how many of you, in your mind, you drink Coke or you drink sodas, on a daily basis? No, none of you. How many of you drink coffee? Okay. Well, coffee has a pH of 5, so it's acidic. And now, I'm not trying to ask you to quit coffee, whatever it is, because I know that coffee is important, for your well-being. But keep in mind that some of these things, do have the ability to actually erode away your enamel. And over time, it will stay in your mouth, and because it's in an acidic environment, will over time, create problems, for you. And so that's one of the things. And the food that we eat is also very important too. And the second oral health care secret that I'm going to mention is the food. Food is paramount to everything because your teeth is supported by nutrition. If you have healthy lifestyle and diet, you will have healthy teeth. But if you choose, to have like junk food, like for example, there's a lot of in the status spreader and in many of these counters, there's a lot of chips, a lot of sodas, a lot of it is taking the world by storm. And all of us, including myself, are subscribing, to this, on a daily basis without realizing that. Of course, I've stopped, the soda drinking. I've stopped, the chips. I've stopped, many of the unhealthy habits because the goal is we want, to ensure, that our lifestyle reflect, what God wants us, to go through. And so that's what we need to do. And the third healthcare secret is brushing and flossing. Now, I'm not sure about you guys, but I do want you to know that there are actually people that believes that their toothbrush is meant to last a lifetime. And my wife actually is one of them. She would never throw away anything. And the toothbrush was meant to last her, for a long time to come. Even though I've been repeatedly telling her, I said, that the collection that we have right now here is going to outlast, you. Even if you change your toothbrush, 2 times a year, it will last you for at least, 25, if not 30 years. But there are some people who actually choose to hold onto their toothbrush. And I'm happy to mention, to you that today you're going to be walking home, with you a new toothbrush and toothpaste. And every one of you will get a chance, to be able to take home one of these. But the toothbrush is meant to be changed on a regular basis. If you have an opportunity, which I know that you don't, no matter how clean you are, if you have an opportunity to look under the microscope, you will discover the amount of bacteria, the amount of tartar, the amount of things that are in between these bristles. It is so scary that you'll probably, in a heartbeat, throw away your toothbrush as soon as you see that. But dental flossing, is not something that you do once a week, once a month, or whenever, your food gets trapped in your mouth. It has to be done on a daily basis. And I actually, I'm not expecting you to do the same thing as I do. I floss, 3 to 5 times a day. And so, that's just me. But technically, it's a good idea to floss after every meal because food gets accumulated in your mouth, and so you want to make sure that you remove them as soon as you can. And now I know that you say, that is so impractical. How can it be possible? Well, I do want you to know that I carry it with me everywhere I go, my toothbrush, my toothpaste, my dental floss, and even my mouth rinse. I carry them with me so that way I'm able, to use it, whenever it's convenient. Yes, I probably, didn't floss, today. I mean, not. I flossed this morning, but I didn't floss, after I've eaten the good food, that we had, this afternoon. That's okay. That's all right. As long as you make sure, that at night you continue your flossing habits, and then next morning after you've eaten your breakfast, do the very same thing. Minimum, I would say at least 2 times. If, let's say, you're so busy that you cannot afford, to spend the time, at least, once at night, it's going to be beneficial for you. All right, so, all right, make sure that you go for your regular checkup. Not because we need more patients, but because, you need the dentist more than we do. So make sure that you see your dentist on a regular basis. Don't miss a dental appointment because it is important. Now, if you're missing teeth, please. I've seen, so many patients who have a lot of money in their bank. But to them, they feel that it is not so important to replace the missing teeth because they feel that it's indispensable. It's dispensable. They can do without some teeth, in their mouth. That's a fallacy. Because as soon as you lose 1 or 2 teeth in your mouth, your teeth, starts drifting. And you lose your ability to be able to chew and function properly. Because it is meant to be, this is meant to be the case. And so, I'm happy to mention to you that you could either restore your missing teeth with implants, or you can restore them with dentures. So they are all options, that are very viable. But don't go without getting them replaced. Now, I know that you're going to say, well, dentistry is really expensive. I cannot afford the dental bill that I have to pay. But remember, that for those of you who do understand, there are some clinics, that are low-cost, clinics that will be able to deliver the care, for you. And some of you who have a lot of money stored in your bank account, remember that you cannot take your money, with you to the next life. So you might as well spend it here and do it good, so that way you have a full complement of teeth to be able to chew and function, really well. And so what happens, when you have untreated infection? Now, I have a church member. I'm not going to tell you who he is. He has a home. He's not poor, but he has a tooth infection, that was killing him. And what he did was he came to me not too long ago, and he says, by the way, do you have some antibiotics you can give to me? And he even have a relative who is a dentist, but he doesn't go to seek dental care. And he's getting, all the prescription, to help time down, time over, this. But please don't, when you have a dental infection, know that this infection is going to travel beyond your mouth. And it's going to go to your other bodies. And a lot of issues that people have in the heart, like inflammation of the heart, inflammation of the kidneys, inflammation of the body as a whole, originates from the mouth a lot of times. Not all the time, but a lot of times. So make sure that you get your infection treated. Now, the fifth oral healthcare secret is seek professional help. Whenever you experience any symptom of pain, discomfort, don't wait until it's too late. And I'm going to share with you an experience of one of my patients. This is an actual case. This patient is not real. I took it from the internet, but I do want you to know that this case is a real case. It is one of my patients, that I saw a number of years ago. I want to say probably about 20 years ago. She was in pain. She was a young girl that was probably in her early 20s. And she was in so much pain that her mom has taken her to the neurologist, taken her to all the doctors, all the pain doctors that she can find. And so spent nearly $10,000 out of pocket aside from the insurance that she had to pay. But still the problem was unresolved because she was having headaches to a point whereby it was affecting her ability to play an instrument, a wind instrument. So she came into the clinic one day, and she was one of my patients for the first time. And I immediately talked to her, understood more about her situation, and I recommended for her an occlusal guard. That was a very simple device. It's something very similar to an orthodontic retainer, except it's a lot thicker. And I told the mom, I said, well, you know what? You already spent $10,000. It doesn't hurt to spend another couple more $100, to get this. If it works, you're free. If it doesn't work, you just lost a couple of $100. And so the mom says, yeah, what's the big deal? I already spent $10,000 on it. And so she said, let's move forward. And so she got the occlusal guard done. And 2 weeks later, she came back. She was more than ecstatic. She was so happy because for the first time in her experience, she was free from pain. But more importantly, she was free from the ability to be able to play her musical instrument once again. And she was so excited. She was so happy because, she actually found the right treatment of choice for her. And it was because her joints, she was grinding and clenching her teeth at night when she sleeps. And it was causing her a lot of dysfunction. And so I want to say that you can definitely join my patients to experience a vibrant lifestyle. And these are some of my actual patients that I have, and I'm going to sort of like play this for you so that you can hear this. And Abraham, I'm going to need some help over here with the sound.
That I'm proud of. The unfortunate thing is, over time, the look of my smile changed, the discoloration to my teeth and so forth, so that when I looked at photographs, that was the part I wasn't so proud of. I wanted a better look to my smile. Unfortunately, when I was a teenager, I did have an eating disorder which affected the quality of my teeth at that time and for many years later. And I had experienced a lot of time in a dental chair as a teenager and in my 20s, where a lot of my teeth were replaced with crowns. And I was dissatisfied with that. It had been sort of a hodgepodge replacement of my teeth over the years with crowns, and it didn't look natural. It didn't look even. It didn't look as nice as I would like it to be. I seriously considered, could it look better? Is this something I could change? And I'd spent a lot of time in a dental chair, and I knew, do I want to spend a lot more time in a dental chair? So at that time, I had Dr. Chee as my dentist. He was really the first person who said something can be done to improve your smile, to improve the look of your teeth so that your smile is more attractive. And he was wonderful about going through the options with me. What would it look like? What could you do? How could the crowns be replaced? And I was amazed at the mock-up. When I saw it, I thought, wow, it can look better. I can have a smile that I'm proud of. But when it happened, and when I saw the difference and the confidence it gave me to smile, particularly for cameras, that really made a huge difference, and it's something I would absolutely consider doing again, because it does make a difference. You often don't realize the extent to which your confidence in your appearance, particularly something as essential as a smile, makes. When my family saw the result, they were so pleased. They said that was worth it, that was worth every minute. I really appreciated the time and attention that Dr. Chee, the faculty dental office, took to make sure I was a satisfied customer. The willingness to go for excellence, to really say, we can make this even better, was what I appreciated. To be able to go through this, to show that it really can transform something that's so meaningful to me, and I hope it will be meaningful to others as well.
I'm also happy to tell you that this patient was a patient that I first saw 10 years ago. And I'm so happy to tell you that over the last 10 years, I have actually been working with her little by little. Now, this experience of all her teeth being changed is not an easy task, but she was able to go through this, stick through this, and I'm happy to tell you that as of this year, we finally completed her last 6 veneers, in her front teeth. That represents a 10-year, sort of like a 10-year experience, being in the dental chair. And of course, not every day. It was over the course of like a year, several years, but she finally, made it to this point over here. And so I do want you to know that there is hope. If you ever feel, that your teeth needs help, we have a lot of dentists, in the neighborhood at Lomlander that can definitely, help you, to take you, to the next level. And so, in conclusion, I want to say, missing teeth shouldn't be a missed life. Your diet and your habits and the choices are going to affect, your well-being. And today, we have to learn to distinguish what is truth and what is error. Because just as in the religious world, just as in the political world, we have to really, in the dental world, differentiate between truth and error. And at the same time, be able to understand God's ideal for a vibrant, healthy lifestyle. And today, if there's anything that I'd like to share with you today, it's the hope that you can have, that you too can experience the same transformation as some of our patients have. And so, in conclusion, to experience a vibrant lifestyle, you're going to need to understand the oral health care secrets that was just presented for you. Know the direct connection between oral and systemic health. And be able to access the modern innovation and technologies that we have available in order for you to be restored to wholeness and whole-person care. And can you imagine that I never dreamt that when I graduated from dental school, that I would see that one day you can actually have a crown being placed in your mouth on the same day. And we have done that on many occasions. Even though I don't do that daily right now, we have done that a number of years ago, whereby we place crowns on patients on the same day. And did you know that for those of us who actually have dentures, we do wait a long time for dentures, but did you know that in the video that you didn't get a chance to see, we are able to deliver dentures on the same day, making these dentures with a 3D printed mold in your mouth by just scanning in your mouth. It is so exciting. I'm truly excited to share with you what dentistry can do today, as opposed to when I first learned about dentistry. Because my professors used to tell me that dentistry is about chipping away painful cavities. And then the three processes that you go through is drilling, filling, and billing your patients. But I'm so happy to tell you today that God has shown me that we have to change our paradigm from billing, filling, and drilling to changing smiles and changing lives. And I'm so happy to tell you, or to share with you, that many of my students have actually gone out in the world with this same philosophy, changing the lives of their patients as we speak, even right now today. And so, in concluding, I would like to say that in John chapter 10, verse 10, Jesus, gave us a very nice promise. And he said, I am come. And the reason, why I came to this earth is so that you can have life, and you can have life more abundantly. So it's not just life, but life more abundantly. Isn't that beautiful? That is Jesus and God's ideal plan, for you. He doesn't want you to live life, half-heartedly. He doesn't want you to live life partially. He came to give you the abundant life. And so once, we begin to understand this, we will begin to realize that we are free from the lies, that we've been told, that, you can never get your teeth restored. Once, you've lost them, that's the end of it. Those are the lies, that we hear all the time. But the good news is, today, you will have the ability to be able to experience wholeness and whole-person care by restoring your teeth to fullness and to completion. Now, I don't know if But I thought, that it's so beautiful to be able to kind of like give you an image over here of my trip, to Ethiopia, Africa. And some of you are probably wondering, how did this book come into existence? Well, I'm happy to share with you that one day, my students and I were actually traveling to Ethiopia, Africa for my first mission trip as a faculty leader. Now, I have been to other mission trips, before, but never taking students. This was my first time, taking the students, to Ethiopia, Africa. Now, if you have ever, gone to a mission trip before, you recognize how challenging it can be. But I wouldn't recommend you to go to Ethiopia, Africa as your first mission trip, as I've done 11, 12 years ago. Because anything that could have gone wrong went wrong with this mission trip from the get-go. Now, I always tell my students, and I continue to tell them, that when you go for a mission trip, you must always go with the expectation to expect the unexpected. Because nothing is going to move on smoothly for you when you go for a mission trip, because Satan is going to throw distraction at you. He's going to discourage you. He's going to cause you to be disillusioned. And he's going to give you all kinds of negative thoughts in your mind. But I'm so happy, to share with you that in spite of all those things, that Satan threw at us, he didn't, discourage us to a point, whereby it was in this place over here, in the midst of a very remote area, whereby it's very similar, to the Garden of Eden environment, where you actually get a chance, to watch the dew coming out, from the ground. That is so precious, something that I've never seen before. And this is a place whereby you won't have internet, you won't have cell phone coverage. If you want any internet cell phone, you have to travel quite a distance away. Probably, stand up on somewhere. And that was the challenge, that we had way back then. And I was actually sick, for nearly the whole time that I was there. But in spite, all those things, we went ahead and continued, to give treatment to our patients. And it was in one of those experiences, whereby this patient, came in. She was a young girl. And she came in, to the clinic. It was free treatment for them. And she said, "Can you please take out my tooth?" And my student, who was a senior student, came to me and said, "Well, that tooth looks really good. It was in this direction. It was coming out in this direction. But it was still a good tooth." She had a baby tooth at the back there that didn't come out. And so I looked at it and I said, yeah, I agree. It's a beautiful tooth. We shouldn't be taking the tooth out. And so, through translation, because they don't speak English, the lady said, "Please, take this tooth out for me, because I won't leave this place if you do not take this tooth out for me." And I was like, whoa. So I have a dilemma, a moral dilemma before me. Do you take out a good tooth because we are told not to do any harm to our patient? Do we take out that good tooth, or do we leave it alone and let the patient walk away disappointed? And somehow an impression came to my mind. Remove the tooth for this patient. And I said, well, what if I go to the dental board? Well, there's no dental board over there, by the way. So I'm okay. So I took out the tooth for her in less than 5-10 minutes. It was out. And I wish, that I had a chance, to take a picture of her. She said, no, I don't want any pictures. And so she left, no records, nothing. And so 4 days later, because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, she came back. And so I was like, whoa, she came back. She has more cavities. And so I said, can I take a picture for you? She says, if doctor, were to, through translation, of course, if doctor were to ask me to take a picture, I would never have allowed you to do that. So I was curious. And so as I said, what is it, that she says, you know what? She said, when I was growing up, she was 15 years old back then, but she was 11 years old when that tooth, came out. And as you know, in that culture, and some of our culture over here, that is it's a taboo. And they think, that she may be charmed by the evil spirit. That's why her tooth is crooked like this. And she was teased relentlessly by all her peers and all her friends, from 11 years old until, she was 14, 15 years old. And so she was so sick and tired of this that once, she actually finished school, she imposed for her a social prison. Never went out to play with the kids, never did anything else, and was in depression, for all those years, locking herself up in her own room because she was so afraid to be teased, by her colleagues and her peers. But when I took that tooth out for her, it set her free from that social prison. And as a result of that, now, of course, I don't have any record of what happened after we left. And that was nearly 12 years ago. But I want to say, that her life was changed for the better. Her life was transformed because not only was she able, to interact socially with people, she now can also, get married. Whereas before, she would never have a chance to be married. Because in that culture, they marry very young. Probably at 16, 17, they would be married. And they would have kids. And imagine, that one tooth could make that difference, for this lady. And so, I was so impressed, when I came back, from that trip. And suddenly the idea of a book changing life was born. And today, the result of what you see here is because of what I experienced in Ethiopia, Africa. And so I do want you to know that there are only 30 copies, left right now from the print. And one of the disclaimer that I have, is that I do not make a single cent if you get this book. And by the way, it's not for sale anyway. But I think that there's a donation that goes directly to the National Association of Seventh-day Adventist Dentists. And if you want, to get a book, and remember that if you are a visitor, you're a guest, please, don't subscribe to that. However, if you feel that you would like to get a copy of this, and there are only 30 copies left from the first print that we had, and I don't think that they're going to ever print it again. I have no control over this. It was my idea, but I have no royalty rights. I have no control over this book. I was just told to sort of like share this, with you. And so if you want this book, all you need to do is to just scan this QR code, and then you can choose, to leave a message behind, so that way, we can actually reach out to you, if you're planning to get a book. Okay, so all right. Well, thank you so much, for your kind attention. I know that I've gone over slightly, and David, I'm going to pass the time back to you.
5 questions.
Is it really important to have a yearly X-ray, even if you don't feel anything's wrong with you?
That's a really good question. Now, according to I'm going to share with you what the standard is. according to the American Dentists Association, the standard is that, and also the insurance will allow you to be x-rayed every 6 months, bite wings, and every 2 to 3 years, a full series of x-rays. So, dentally speaking, insurance-wise, you are allowed, to do that. So, the question is, do you need, to have x-rays taken on a yearly basis? That's going to be dependent upon the dentist that you go to. Now, if I am the dentist, that is going to do this, I'm going to look at my patient to see their history. If for a consistent time, for a number of years, every 6 months, they check and their cavity is free, I have actually told my patients that you don't need any more x-rays, at least, for a couple of years. And then we will check every couple of years. Rather than to check with bite wings every 6 months, you don't have to do that.
What do you think about an electric toothbrush? Are those good or?
Okay. All right. That's a very good question. So my answer to your question is based upon research, and they've done a number of research on electric toothbrush versus manual toothbrushing. The answer is that they both, found that the result is that they're synonymous. Whether you use electric or you're brushing normally, like what you do, they give you the same results. Okay, that is based upon, research. And I'm going to answer your question, in a much more deeper way. It also depends on how effective you're using the electric toothbrush and the manual toothbrush. There are some individuals who find, that the electric toothbrush gives them a much better feel because they don't have to be brushing. And so the electric toothbrush will work really good, with that because they're oscillating at very high frequency. Like a sonic care toothbrush will oscillate probably around, close to 40,000 hertz per second, meaning to say vibration per second. You cannot see it, but it is going in there and really, disturbing the plaque and the tartar. So when you're bringing that in there, it kind of electronically remove the plaque and tartar for you, so you don't have to be brushing and brushing. Now, this works really good for individuals who are slowly losing their manual dexterity. And they're not as strong anymore and things like that. That will be really good. Plus, electric toothbrush, it does have a timer. So you brush, for 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here, and 30 seconds here for a total of 2 minutes. Manually speaking, if you were to brush, you could also, do the very same thing too. And do a really good job. So it all depends on you. If you notice, that the manual toothbrush will work really well for you, then go ahead and continue using it. But if you notice, that the electric toothbrush work better for you, please, by all means, get an electric toothbrush because electric toothbrushes are no longer expensive. They are very reasonably priced to a point whereby you could get a really good one, and sometimes even for a very reasonable cost.
How do you change your electric toothbrush? Because if you're always using it, how do you replace it every 6 months?
Yes, they actually do sell special heads, and sometimes you can get them in a row of 6, in a row of 12, and sometimes even 24. So they do have, replacement heads, for you. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, with the, using that. And so, what you can also do, too, to help, with that would be, you could, I have both electric, I also have the manual. And so sometimes I will use electric, sometimes I'll use the manual. So that's one way, that you could actually delay the process of changing a toothbrush. Okay.
When a dentist recommends that you put on veneers, don't you have to destroy the enamel in order to put the veneer on?
Okay. That's a very good question. So, do you hear what he said? He said, that when the patient, has veneers, don't you need to destroy, the enamel in order, for you to replace it, with a veneer? Is that your question? Okay. So first of all, there are actually no prep veneers that's available, but it's not for everybody. So you can definitely, go for veneers that you don't have to prepare and lose enamel. A lot of times when we recommend veneer replacement, it's usually because clinically it looks like there are cracks on the enamel, there are defects on the enamel, and there are problems that is in there that will eventually cause the patient to lose the tooth, or maybe it will cause the patient to have issues down the road. That's when we would replace them with, sometimes you have to give up something in order to achieve something. And yes, enamel is the strongest natural substance in the world right now. But today, with current, as I'm talking to you right now, we are replacing the enamel with a veneer that has a very strong compressive strength that is very close to, have you ever heard of zirconia before? Zirconia is actually fake diamonds. And fake diamonds have a compressive strength when you form it into a veneer or into a crown, has a compressive strength. They usually don't break. And they are right into the 600 to 800 to even up to 1400 megapascal of strength. And that's a lot of pressure. Just to give you kind of like a kind of like not analogy, but something that would give you an understanding. How many pounds per square inch do you normally chew? Do you know? 50? On an average, 130, 140. But if you're grinding your teeth and clenching your teeth, you can go up to 200. Okay, but normal is, and also it depends on your musculature too. Like I would imagine, those of you who have kind of like broad jaws, you have very strong muscles, guaranteed. Like your name is Carol, right? Okay, you have strong muscle, and so do you. Yes, strong musculature, and yes, because you have that facial profile. Now yours will be okay because you are not. That means your jaw is not so. But of course, since I'm not your dentist, no. I think it's good. It's good. But because I haven't had a chance to see your teeth and examine them, I really cannot just by looking at the face, tell you. But I think that you're okay. I don't know if you may have. Let me see. Can you lift your head up? So you may have some sleep issues. Like you may have allergies. I don't know if that's true. No allergies. And do you find, that, do you know if you wake up, your jaw gets sore every once in a while? No? Okay. So does he snore? Okay, so yeah, snoring, is and the reason why I know that is because, I look at his nasal passage, it is slightly constricted. And fortunately, because you don't have that strong musculature, because otherwise you're going to destroy your teeth a lot more. I mean, snoring sometimes, comes, together with grinding and clenching too. Now, of course, I mean, we don't have to go in depth, with that, but you have to remember that everything is all interconnected together. Your brain sends a signal to your jaw muscles, and your jaw muscles are actually, they're called muscles of mastication, muscles of chewing. And so when you cannot breathe, when you snore, that's because your tongue is going back to your throat. So when you block your nose, guess what's going to happen? Your brain sends a signal, hey, I need to breathe. And so guess what happened? You open your mouth. But your mouth muscles, your muscles of mastication are confused. They say, wait a minute, my role is to chew and not to breathe. So then they go into that grinding and clenching motion. So I'm putting it in a very simple layman terms, for you to understand, but it is much more complex, than that. There's a lot of physiology, a lot of, neurological things, that goes on, in the brain that I don't fully understand everything that is in there.
What do you recommend as far as, the water rinsers?
The water pick?
Yeah, the water picks. Do you like those versus flossing more or less, or what's your opinion?
Okay. Now, the water floss, is definitely a very good aid to include, in your cleaning, because a lot of times what happens is that you're not able to reach certain areas real well through flossing. And I do know that some people have a big challenge, with going all the way to the back there to floss. And so the water pick, is an adjunct, for you. That means to say that it's an add-on to your, it usually doesn't replace flossing, but if you don't have any other option, if you don't like to use floss or you cannot manage the floss, definitely the water pick, would be a good thing to have. Absolutely. Hopefully that answers your question.
I heard that root canals are not good to do. So rather than having a root canal, you should just have it extracted and then do an implant. Yeah.
Claire, I'm so glad that you asked that question. Because remember, that we have been talking about truth and myth, and this is one of the area of myth, that you're getting into. So, to answer your question, is it a good idea to have a root canal treatment if you need one? Absolutely. But remember that root canal treatment is really a last attempt to try to save your tooth. And if you're successful, you get to keep that tooth, for X number of years. Some people, 40, 50 years, until, they leave this world. Some people, 4 to 5 years. Some people, 1 or 2 years. And then it breaks. So we don't know what that is going to be. However, to answer your question, root canal treatment is absolutely a way, for you to be able to save that tooth. Because conversely, if you remove the tooth, every tooth that has a problem, you'll be getting implants all over the place. Right? So that is not what currently, right now, we are recommending. We always recommend our patients to go with the most minimally invasive treatment of choice. So if your dentist tells you, Claire, you have a choice. Either root canal treatment, which is kind of like a 50-50 because of the infection that you have, because the tooth is pretty broken down, it's 50-50. Do you want to extract the tooth? Now, that is different. But if your dentist, recommends you, Claire, I recommend you to do a root canal treatment, at least for now. See whether it works for you. Then don't remove the tooth.
But isn't it like when you have a root canal, they'll still put a crown on?
Yes.
So you don't really see the tooth. So you kind of see the tooth.
Well, I'm so glad, that you brought this up. You see, the thing about it is that an implant is never the same as a root canal treated tooth with a crown. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because remember that innovation, even though they don't get up into the top of your tooth, it's still below there. There's still innovation there. And so when you chew your food, you'll be able to sense it a lot more than if you did it with the implant. Now, it's not to say the implant is not good. Implant is excellent. Okay? I would recommend implant if if your tooth is not savable. But usually, if my patients would come to me and if they would ask me, should I do a root canal treatment or should I do an implant? My answer, to them would be not how you would answer yes or no. I would tell them, I would say, that really depends on you. I'm going to give you all the information that you need for you to make the best decision you can possibly. So this is what's going to happen. If you do the root canal treatment, these are the things that's going to happen and potentially could happen. If you remove your tooth and you do an implant, this is what's going to happen. This is going to be the cost. This is going to be the cost. What would you prefer? Because remember that my role as a dentist, as your dental provider, is not to tell you what you should do and what you should not do. The responsibility lies with you as a patient. My role is to facilitate. And this is another myth, another fallacy, another error that I need to correct. And that is many people come to the dental office and says, Doc, I'm all yours. You decide, for me what I should do, and I'll listen to you because you're the doctor. I'm not trained. Don't fall into that trap. I always tell my student, don't fall into the trap, whereby your patient comes in and tell you, to decide, for them. I never decide for my patient because that is not the right thing to do. I always train my students to tell them, to share that with the patient, give them adequate information, enough so that they will be able to make an intelligent, informed decision, so that way, if something should happen, if I say to you, Carol, I say, oh, Carol, you shouldn't take out that tooth. Save it. Do the root canal treatment. And then 1 year later, you come back to me and say, Doc, my crown is out here and my tooth is broken. So what did I just do? I just, assume that responsibility for you in your oral health. And that's not a good day for me as a dentist. It's not a good day for you as a patient. Because what happens is that, has it ever happened? Absolutely. We hear that all the time at the school. Patients, coming and says, Doc, your students, said, that this is going to be great and it's going to be wonderful. I'm going to be able to do this and do that. Look, it's gone. And I just spent $2,000 on this. So that's something that you have to recognize and do. So, well, thank you so much, everybody, for your attention. And I hope that I actually do have a little bit of time, and if you want to stay a little bit longer, to ask some questions. I know that we have to wrap this up because I know that we need to respect your time. But if you, I do have an appointment, with another dentist, down here, which is not too far away, and we're actually going to be talking about some things, in relation, to a spiritual conference that we're going to be doing in the school over there. And so, but I have a little bit of time, so I'm not in a hurry to go. So if you want, to ask more questions, please feel free to do so.
Any additional question? Otherwise, we close the session and thank Dr. Chee for coming here with us, despite your precious time and despite that you are still mourning the loss of your wife, and we really appreciate that. When I texted him and asked him, I just remind him, oh, okay, you have an appointment with our church this Sabbath, and when I received his reply, I was shocked. He said that, thank you for your reminder, but my wife just passed away last week. And I was shocked. What do you think your reaction would be in this case? My reaction would be, oh, he needs time to rest and to have peace in mind. So I texted back to him. I said, Dr. Chee, maybe it's a good idea that we cancel the appointment. And a little later, I received his text back. He said, well, thank you so much for your comfort and understanding, but I already prepared everything. I'm ready to go ahead with it. And let's keep the appointment. And even if my wife is alive, she will encourage me to continue. So I am very touched by that. Thank you so much.
One more thing, David. I'm going to leave this book, with David, and I'm going to communicate, with him as to who is going to be the person, the lucky individual who is going to be able to get this book here, and make sure, that if you haven't signed up, for the first one that the first QR code, let me know, because I want to make sure, that you are entered, for this book over here, and so I will communicate with you.
Okay.
Because I have to go back, to my, my computer, my screen, to select, the winner for this.
How do you select?
Okay. What happens is that I've chosen, one number.
Yeah.
And it's the number 7 for completeness. And so whoever, actually signed, because you guys are signed in randomly. So the number 7th, person on that list here will be the winner.
Okay.
And so I'm going to communicate with you who that winner is going to be, and I'm going to give you, hopefully you put down your email or your contact information,
Okay.
so that way, I can, I will let you know.